I have a question for the group. When we were reviewing OA and Gil was presenting his part, there was a significant difference in the incidence in the epidemiology of that pathology, higher in women than in men, especially as they advanced into menopausal age. Can anyone guess why? In terms of the etiological aspects. And our TCM medicine talks about it and stresses the significance of it. TCM stresses postpartum supplementation. We know that gestation, pregnancy, and delivery deplete substantial amount of essential nutrients, including calcium, from the woman's body, from the female body. And without proper supplementation of yin and yang at the onset of postpartum and continuing through, most females end up going into premenopausal stage already quite depleted of those valued essential nutrients and supplement substances. So it's important to keep that in mind when you're looking at some of these differences in terms of the statistics. Yair has a point to make.
I have a question to the panel. I mean, what's your clinical experience? Which kind of cardiovascular disease do you treat mostly in the clinic? And what's your experience with it?
I can start, and then maybe Gil and Anya can talk about it. In general, it's a pretty even split. I do quite a bit of hypertensive patients. Obesity is a second component, and then an even smattering between metabolic pathologies and smoking cessation. So mostly lifestyle and habit forming or habit related therapeutics that we involve. Then I often work in unison or in integration with MDs. Most of my patients who are hypertensive are taking antihypertensive medicines. So I have to keep that in mind when I'm doing therapies. Some of them who have had cardiovascular incidents, maybe on Coumadin or other blood thinners to prevent clot formation. And so you have to keep that in mind in terms of potential bleeding incidents, in terms of administering herbal supplements that could contradict and or have adverse effects with the medications that they're taking. So it behooves us to work in an integrated way to discuss your case with the MD that is the primary care physician for the patient, and share your approach and explain to them what you're doing and how you're contributing to the effect.
Sorry. My main experience is with hypertension patients. But however, in China, the year that I spent there, and in Taiwan, I've seen many cases of angina pectoris, as well after heart attack patients coming with still have complaints in the chest region. Acupuncture can be very, very effective for that. Acupuncture specifically. Obviously, Chinese herbal medicine as well. But yeah, in Amsterdam and previously in Israel, it was mainly related to hypertension, obviously obesity and stop smoking treatments and so on, but mainly hypertension.
Can I ask a question? Just for everybody, like with the patients who have hypertension, when they don't change their lifestyle, how effective are the points that you mentioned, stomach 37, stomach 36, and the pericardium points with electroacupuncture? Because I've had some experience where I haven't had good results with people who don't stop drinking and don't stop smoking. And I've had really good results with people who do change the lifestyle. But it's always made me wonder which is more effective, or do they really go both hand in hand? So I'd like to hear your thoughts.
From a clinical experience, they do go hand in hand. Remember, our medicine works best when it's integrated, when it's holistic. So the most important thing that I always stress to my patients, and don't be afraid as a practitioner to turn away a patient. Because if they're not going to comply to what you want them to do in order for them to get better, that means they have not bought in to their own well-being. So oftentimes I'll scold the patient. I'll actually scold the patient for not following the instructions that he needs or she needs to do in order to see the results. And the best way to do it is demonstration. A lot of these points can have a very good short-term effect. And when you see the short-term effect, I mean, I can measure the BP prior to the treatment, do the treatment, measure the BP, and I can see the measurable drop in the systolic blood pressure. And I can tell them, now you're going to go home, you're going to chug down a beer and or whatever, you're going to continue to your lifestyle, and that BP is going to rise right back up again. Try it as a pilot for 1 day, 2 days, 5 days. Stop what you're doing, change your lifestyle, even temporarily.
Yeah.
And the best way for them to buy into it is when they see it actually occurring in real life. So that would be my advice in terms of how you can get them to buy in on the concept.
I will add maybe something from like a different perspective. You know, the most involved meridian, let's say, is the liver and the kidney in blood pressure. And this is just kind of to remember something. And the highest point on the body is GV20 and the lowest point is kidney 1. And both of these points are addressing, interestingly, the pathology of high blood pressure. Obviously, the GV20 more of the liver channels ends as an internal pathway to GV20, and kidney 1 to more kidney and kidney pathologies. And as you mentioned, and also as Aram mentioned, both Jill and Aram, is that you need to speak differently to different patients. So we speak differently to a kidney patient or differently to a liver patient. And I think sometimes this is the clinical magic, you know, this kind of rapport with the patient. When you catch their inner reason for self-destruction, mainly with the liver people, and you touch on it, you know, so you don't, and then the side effect is that you're allowing them to create some real change in their life. Because obviously somebody has a high blood pressure and continues with bad habits, there is some inner self-destruction built in, or some fear, which can turn also into being like ignoring something. So this is just kind of just to point on these two extreme points of the body. I like to think about the inner alchemy of points and also about maybe some clinical rapport and how we can gain patients to change. Because I think eventually the real essence of treatment is creating a change. So you are right, if we don't manage to create a change, our ability to succeed in treatment are much reduced than if we are managed to touch something deep also in the spirit of the patient and create this inner change. Lastly, just to say that obviously if there is a strong family history of high blood pressure, then the prognosis is lower than if it's not. So it's something we have to take into account clinically as well. I mean, if there is a big family history of blood pressure, you know, they better take also medicines without treatment. It is called the silent killer for a reason. You know, so medicines are not bad. It's just, you know, we can supplement them in many ways. That's just a small remarks. Ben, you have your hand up.
Yes, just one question. I was wondering, for large intestine 11 that has its function of lowering blood pressure, I was just always questioning why this point, and if it has it come up a lot in your research that you've been doing, or does it not regard it as that important?
I personally usually don't use LI11 as a component in the therapeutics. There are many other points. I mean, one of the, this is kind of an interesting dovetail into one of the other tools that we provided in our newsletter. Gil and I put together a wonderful infographic on leveraging the points from Master Tong that are very specific zone-based points for use in cardiovascular diseases. And if you haven't seen it, it's an exceptional tool that you can download. Maybe I can just give you a very brief look into it. You know, it's a wonderful way of looking at all the different zones and the specific points and their indications. in cardiovascular diseases and how you can integrate these points into your therapeutics in your approach, in your treatment approach. So I urge you to download that and look at it. As far as the LI11, again, there are many points that have various indications, and there still needs to be research, because I believe the ancient wisdom had a reason for indicating that in there. Just one of us needs to, or some of us need to step in and do the necessary research and or digging into the history to try to come up with the understanding of what the ancients really meant. So hope that answers your question, Gail, Benjamin.
Thank you.
Mark, go ahead, or Marek.
Okay. According to this, what Yair told about the family history, I think that problem is the same habit in the history. You know, the great mother was cooking in that style, wrong style. Mother was cooking in wrong style. He was during pregnancy eating wrong, and I'm cooking also all life like that. This is very common. So I think we have considered that things all the time. So about this family history, they are the most simple things sometimes. And the second, Anya was, she told that unfortunately there was not research of sham acupuncture. I don't think that is no any sense to complain that we have no sham acupuncture. There is even no any sense to do research on sham acupuncture. There were thousands of research. They were showing that real acupuncture is better than sham acupuncture, and there is no any sense to waste time, to waste money and activity to show again and again the same things. It is absolutely enough to do like Gil was showing in his Taiwan research, patient with acupuncture and without acupuncture. This is absolutely enough. Acupuncture, there is not methodology the same in evidence-based medicine as for pharmacology. So we have not to be concerned for sham acupuncture anymore. It's my opinion. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions?
No, but I thought the same thing about the sham acupuncture as well. That I mean, it does have its uses, but I also thought I had the same opinion when I heard that there was no sham acupuncture done. I thought, I mean, we know, but maybe some other people need some more proof. I don't know, but we know. Yeah.
It's interesting you mentioned that. One of the interesting arguments that I'm always faced with from my colleague MDs is placebo effect. And I always tell them, wonderful, I love placebo effect. It doesn't matter because you and I took the same oath. Ultimately, we want to help the patient get better. Now you call it a placebo effect, I call it stomach 36, doesn't matter. The patient got better, that's all that matters. So put away the differences between what is placebo, what is real, what is a reductionist and holistic, and start focusing on the patient, start thinking about the patient's health. And that's how we integrate. That is how we will succeed as integrated, to become integrated into the mainstream medical discipline. So before I pass on to Yair for closing thoughts, I do want to stress again, this is a recurring theme. RTF will be putting out more of these, in fact, one every season. So the plan for fall is actually stroke related. So around November 17th, please disseminate, get your colleagues, bringing more of you in, because we will have a very specialized webinar and newsletter that will focus on stroke and stroke rehabilitation. PM&R, physical medicine and rehabilitation, combined with acupuncture and other modalities, plays a major role in stroke rehab in China, mainland China. I did my residency in a stroke rehab hospital in Sichuan. And day one, when a patient is brought into the acute center for stroke, acupuncture is involved, and all the way through. And the available evidence in terms of the reduction in full recovery post-stroke is dramatic when you look at some of the statistics and some of the available data about how acupuncture benefits. And I have many anecdotal, and I'm sure Gil also has many anecdotal stories of how you can literally improve a stroke patient's rehab time dramatically after an acute stroke patient. Currently, I'm working with the University Athens College of Traditional Chinese Medicine in Athens, Greece, and we're doing a research on a stroke patient, a young individual stroke patient, and we're integrating gaming into the concept as a neuroplasticity element, and that will be published as a joint publication between the university and ETCMA. So, Gil, if you have anything else to add to our group, and then we'll turn it to Yair.
Yeah, just one. Can you hear me? Yeah. Just one very quick note on sham acupuncture. First of all, it's a very complicated procedure. There are many types of sham acupuncture procedure, and recently I read an article about, I think, laser acupuncture. Laser acupuncture is very good in terms of doing double-blind randomized controlled trial, because we can deactivate the laser device and we can fake the whole procedure in a very good way. And I saw a very nice RCT that had 3 groups: one acupuncture group, one laser acupuncture, and one sham laser acupuncture. And then the sham laser acupuncture provide this placebo effect. But we need to, when we say sham acupuncture, it's a very broad aspect of that procedure specifically, and we need to be very careful, and we need to read exactly what was the author aim and objective when he did that style of procedure. And when there are critiques that are debating us against us, we need to understand what kind of study they are using in order to criticize us, in order to explain them, okay, this type of procedure has flaws, has problems. Because in the last recent decade, there are more and more improvements in this effort of creating sham acupuncture. So that's a side note regarding that.
(9:28), 30 exactly on the dot. 2 minutes to close, Yair.
I'll just close really with 2 remarks stemming from the question of Jill, Marek, and Aram's and Gil's. The first one, I think we know about epigenetics as well as genetics, and that's what Marek was remarking. And actually, Chinese medicine is very focused, and I think it's the first medicine that brought the whole issue of epigenetics and its deep understanding. So we have a lot to contribute on that level. The second thing regarding sham acupuncture, I think Anya was rightly saying it, because when you look at the gold standard of Western medicine, then comparing placebo to real is a gold standard. And lastly, my mentor in my PhD was Ted Kapchuk, and he is the world's most studied person. He's a professor now in Harvard on placebo. So if you want to understand the element of placebo, which is in itself, I think, remarkable, it's worth, he's called Ted Kapchuk, and he's lecturing he has a nice one on TED Talks, this 15, 18 minutes talks about placebo. And he did a lot of research about placebo and acupuncture as a healing effect and the strength of placebo, and published in the BMJ in the best journals. So if you are really interested into this human phenomena of placebo, that will be interesting. So thank you all for participating. Thank you for the RTF group for providing this invaluable information on research. And as they said, I hope to see you all and bring your friends to the next one. So all the best and good night to everybody. Keep well and safe.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.